Welcome, everyone, to Courageous Creative Conquerors. This is Jean Voice Dart. It's my belief that everyone has a gift of creative expression. We were born to express ourselves to stay healthy and happy. Whether you are planting a garden, writing a story, building a cabinet, sewing a scarf, or singing a song, what matters is expressing from the heart. And the creative and expressive arts are a healthy coping strategy that shifts us from trauma to triumph. So join me as we listen and learn key tips and techniques from our special guest and courageous creative conqueror. Our special guest today is Laura Donnelly, author, dancer, choreographer, and teacher. Welcome, everyone. I'm Jean Voice Dark, and I have with me my special guest, Laura Donnelly. Welcome, Laura.
Hi, Jean. Thanks so much for inviting me.
It's so fun to have you here, and I'm really looking forward to getting to know you more and sharing you with our guests here today, our viewers, and finding out more about using the creative arts. And so I'd like to ask you to start off, if you could share a little bit about growing up and your experience with your family, with your mother, and those in your life that inspired you to be creative.
Sure. I grew up in a little town in the middle of Kansas called Great Bend. And my mom and dad had met on tour. My mom was a dancer and a singer, and my dad was a singer. And they got married, and when they wanted to have a family, they didn't want to raise a family in a small apartment in a city. They didn't really think that that was a fun way to be raising kids. And so they moved back to my mom's hometown in the middle of Kansas, and they started an art center.
Wow.
And my dad taught singing, and they had friends who taught acting. My mom taught dancing, and they had people who came in and taught ballroom dancing and other kinds of things.
You became a dance instructor.
First, I was a dancer and a performer, and I traveled and toured, and I really enjoyed it. And but here's like an example of how things were when I was getting ready to audition and everything. I'm like, am I any good, Mom? Do you think I can do this? And she said, you're the best student I ever taught. And as your mother, I would wish you would do anything but dancing. Mm-hmm. Because it's a hard field, right? And so she wanted to protect me from the disappointment of not being cast, the whole body dysmorphic thing. When you're not a lot of times dancers are cast because they're the right type, or they fit a costume, or the choreographer wants all the women to be 5'6", so they make a straight line on the stage.
Yes.
And and then touring. Touring is great, and touring is a lot of work.
Yes.
So she was kind of like, she was conflicted about what I wanted to do. So I went and danced anyway, because it was on my list. I want to move to New York. I want to get in a company. I want to tour to Europe. And boom, I did it. I got in this Renaissance dance company, and I traveled in Italy. It was fun. Italy and Switzerland, and great costumes, live music. Mm-hmm. It was a great adventure. It was a great adventure.
So this is you, Laura Donnelly, at about age 5, with your mother, Dorothy Donnelly, who was a dancer, a professional dancer and choreographer and instructor. And I love this photo. It's wonderful. But you did tell me earlier that your father was instrumental in encouraging and supporting, and not just your mother with her career 100% behind her, but also with you and your brother, encouraging you to go deeper and do everything you could with the expressive arts. So could you share a little bit more about your father and what he did and how important he was?
And my dad started the community theater in the town. And so he was also an electrician, and he built a board, and it had these little things that you pushed up and down on it. And they could take it and plug it in at the community center where they had the plays. And then when it was over, they took it out and was in our basement, which is how I got to see it and knew what it was.
Oh my goodness.
And so they had it when I was little, before I was 9, they had all of these friends that they had known. And for some reason that people kind of moved to this little town, and it was full of people they had known when they were touring and doing things. And I just remember going out to dinner, and they would tell these stories about, being on stage and somebody forgot their piece of their costume, or this piece of the set was going to fall over and somebody changed their role and they stood there, and held the set up.
Oh my goodness.
Till it was intermission, and it was just, I don't know, it was kind of magical. And the other thing is I really thought that musicals were real, because my dad sang and my mom sang, and they had been in musicals. And so they knew the words, they sang around the house. I really did not think musicals were make-believe. I thought that they were real life.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like you were just saturated with creativity. Or was this something that just your parents did as professionals, but when they came back home, did they still
they
play
did
with you, creative at home?
Always.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, I see, and I can't remember being bored ever, really. I suppose if I got kind of antsy or bored, they would get out crayons and paper, and they would say, "Do something."
Yes. Yes.
And my dad built things. He built furniture. He built a thing for your luggage. I have it hidden over there in the corner. And
you want to show us?
I might be able to pull it out.
Sure.
Hang on one second.
We're easy breezy here. Sure.
It folds up and it folds out. Oh my God, this must be, how old am I? This must be 60 years old, this thing.
Your father made that?
Uh-huh. And he saw one somewhere, and they thought it would be handy, so you lay it out and you put your suitcase on it and everything.
Yes.
And so he made it. So he got a kit, and he put together a television for us. And
he built a television?
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. No, I mean, he was really, really amazing. And my mom could sew. She made costumes. My dad's sister was a costume designer, and she made patterns. And so we often did things like this. Like we would set up the big tables. We had a studio in our house, a dance studio in our house. And so we would set up the big tables, and we would lay out all the fabric and cut it all out. And then we would sit together, like 2 or 3 of us, and 2 or 3 sewing machines, and just be sewing.
Yes.
And so all of my favorite memories, like even like holidays, the important thing was making cookies. And so we would get together and we would roll them out, and we would do this. We would make cookies together. And even my mom's dance students would come back years and years after they had graduated and gone on, but they would come home for Christmas, and they would come over and help make cookies, because this time spent together making something together.
Yes. Yes. It was the same in my family as well. Just sewing machines, making molding clay, doing things, and cookies baking, and everybody helping. And it's a wonderful family feeling. I don't know if all families have that luxury, though, but research shows us that if parents encourage their children to be creative, then when they become adults older, they just have these out of the box problem solving skills, and they do much better, more successful. So do you feel that being raised in that environment helped you be who you are today? How did it affect you being raised by creatives?
Here's the funny thing, because that was my life, I never thought that it was anything but normal.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty magical. Actually, it was pretty magical. I think when I look back on it and I look at other people and I look at the way people are being raised now, little kids are being raised now, I see that I have a real sadness because my life was so full of creative energy. And like one time I built a 2-story house out of paper. And it had 2 floors and it had windows and doors, and I glued it all together and everything. And I had a handle on it so I could carry it. I don't know why I did this. I think I just did it. I don't even think it was a school project. My dad was so proud of this. He took me and my little paper house over to my grandparents' house to show them what I had made. So I was 7 or 8. I don't know how old I was. I was little. And so that was one of the things that I think my dad provided for our family that was a real loss when he died. Was
so when did your father die, and how did that happen?
I was 9. He fell off a ladder at work.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was just pretty sudden and pretty unexpected. And and he was the like the cheerleader. He supported my mom, and made her feel beautiful and talented, and he supported, encouraged that kind of stuff in my brother and I.
But your father died when you were 9.
Uh-huh.
So let's go back to because this is Courageous Creative Conquerors. So that's a trauma. Of course, we all have traumas in life. How did that affect you? Did that change your relationship with your mother going forward? Did that
did. And
change your life dramatically? Because it sounded like he was the pillar of the community. He had this community center.
Oh, he was an amazing guy.
Yeah. So
really
what
amazing.
happened?
Well, we just kept going the best we could, because that's what you can do. One of the things is my mom, she got rid of all of his clothes. She took down all the pictures. Nope, all the pictures went away of us as a family, and his pictures came down because she couldn't stand to see that and miss him every day. And it was long enough ago. There was no grief counseling. There was no anything. There was just keep going.
Is this in the early 60s or late 50s or what?
Mid to late 60s, 67, I think.
60s, yeah.
And so then the deal is you keep, okay, well, and then I'm from the Midwest where if anyone asks you, how are you? You say, fine, I'm fine. Everything's fine.
I grew up in the Midwest too.
So you got that. And really it's more like, fine, I'm fine.
Fine, I'm fine.
Yeah. You know that one?
I'm fine.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing. It's one of the terrible lies of Midwest.
Fine. But would you like a cookie?
Yeah, something sweet. Take your mind off of it. Yeah. So
she took down all of the pictures, so you didn't see your father anymore.
No, he was gone. Okay. Invisible. And because I was 9, right? And there's this whole child logic thing. You have this idea that you are responsible for everything. I must have done something wrong that caused they or them to come and take my dad, because he fell at work, hit his head, and I never saw him again. He was in the hospital. They flew him to a big city to try but they didn't fly him for 2 or 3 days, and it wasn't a life. Was it a life? I don't know how they did it. Somehow they did it. And a friend of our family's flew my mom so she could be at the hospital there. And they said if they had seen him immediately, they might have been able to do something, but really it was like a brain hemorrhage.
Yes.
And so that, it was like I went to school and I came home and nothing was ever the same. And actually, I'm wearing glasses, right? The summer after that happened, we were driving to my grandma's house, and I got to sit in the front seat now, because in the old days, my dad drove and my mom sat in the front seat and me and my brother sat in the back seat. But because I'm the next oldest kid, I got to sit in the navigator seat.
Oh,
big plus, right? But my mom's driving and I'm going, how do you know where to turn to get to grandma's house? And she's like, because I know she lives on Madison Street and the sign says Madison. I said, what sign? She said, that sign right there. I said, that sign has letters on it? Whoops. So they took me to the eye doctor.
Oh.
And I was severely nearsighted.
Wow.
Because at the day that my dad fell, somebody must have come to school and picked us up and took us home, because we usually walked home. But anyway, I got out of the car and I stepped on the curb and I just had this feeling like a wave, like a giant wave. And this knowing inside that nothing would ever be the same. And I think, well, I know I have a really finely tuned intuition, and it has a future casting to it. It can feel. I think it is an energetic thing that it is. But anyway, but right after that happened, I'm not looking forward anymore. Done. And so, like, I'm 9, and in the summer when I'm 9, I got bifocals because I could see close up. I could read. Because I was short, my teachers always had me in the front of the classroom, so I could still see the board. So nobody suspected this until I asked my mom how she knew what street to turn on. And so for the longest time, that was I had that buffer built in of not wanting to look too far into the future.
Wow. So I'm going to stop you right here just to recap. And we're looking at a photograph. You are a photographer, but I just want to recap for our listeners. You just said something that's really profound. You said that you had a moment, you felt that the future was going to be severely changed for you. And that was when your sight was severely affected. And you felt energetically, and I believe you 100%, that was a turning point when your vision was dramatically reduced. And so I'm showing this photograph because when you tell your story, which is remarkable, your trauma that you went through with the death of your father, you said you knew right then you didn't want to see into the future. You didn't want to look ahead. And that's when you lost a significant part of your vision. But your photographs, and let's look at another one, really show looking into the future. They're all about this panoramic, or this view of looking forward, the clouds, the sky, there's the road there. And this is what you love. So tell me a little bit about that. And why do you photograph the sky and the road and this? How is that important to you? Tell me about that.
I think that is part of my healing energy in terms of my life.
Yes.
Because that is the road goes to the horizon. And the thing I like about this picture a lot is that light, and it's like the light is shining on the road. And so the road is actually protected, even though you don't know where it's going.
Mm.
And so these kind of pictures, I have tons of these kinds of pictures.
Yes. And
Because,
I asked you, you like to take photographs of clouds. Why do you like to take photographs of clouds? Can you share that with people? And
right.
I think you told me that the reason why is because it's a feeling of, you know, expansiveness, of feeling light, just a good feeling. Can you share that other photo? Yeah, there's one.
Yes, that one.
And I told you it looks like cotton candy, kind of all this beautiful pink and blue and gold.
Right.
And all that.
And see, and my mom, the thing about this is the pink clouds, right? And so a couple of times she had to have surgery, or like I think that what I was thinking about this time was maybe she had had really bad pneumonia, something, and they gave her morphine.
Mm-hmm.
She's not good with drugs, but she loved it. She's like, I love the pink clouds.
She said that.
Yes.
Oh, that's
And
funny.
so this picture, I think it reminds me, the top half, right, reminds me of her and the pink clouds.
It's
And
heavenly. It's heavenly.
yeah, and I think that's how she felt about
Mm-hmm.
the just floating on the pink clouds.
Yes.
And so,
Well, let's talk a little bit about I'm glad we have a background now of you growing up and some trauma that you went through and how that affected you creatively. But let's talk a little bit about now, who you are now, and why this upbringing, how it has brought you here, and your passion and purpose of what you want to share with others, which is this creative thinking, not necessarily telling everybody they have to paint a picture or be in a ballet or play the guitar or this or that, but how we can use this creative thinking, creative way of life to be successful and happy and live a life of, you said, of ease. Ease is really important to you. Do you want to share a little bit about that?
so ease is for me the shortcut word for being in flow, which a lot of performers and athletes understand as that time when everything just goes right. The ball you throw can't miss the basket. If you're dancing, you can't miss a step. You make all your turns. You finish beautifully.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like singing the perfect song. And hit every note exactly right. And when you're done, you don't really know what happened. You just know it was a great time. And so that being in flow is what I call ease, because I'm at ease in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not thinking ahead about the next step. And I'm not worrying about the one I might have missed a minute ago. I'm just right here, right
I think
now.
creatives understand that. Creative people really understand that, being in that flow. Everything just disappears. You just kind of go and you don't even remember what you did. It was just a journey. It's like that cotton candy clouds. It's just a place, with
Yep.
ease. Yeah.
And in that space, you're not controlling things.
Mm-hmm.
And so for a long time after my dad died, I was really afraid to make any mistake, as I thought if I made any mistake, they that came and took him would come and take my mom. And so I turned in. Okay, so I have also 4 generations of perfectionism in my fammy, perfectionist people.
That might have something to do with it too.
Going back. But this this hit that chord, if you know what I mean. And I think that this is the thing about trauma, is that we all have these chords, and we all have these things that happen to us. And we all have some capacity to heal. That perfectionism that it hit that chord for me. So like I have my grandma and my grandpa, just one of my,
it's like a tuning fork.
yeah.
And so we want the other tuning. We don't want this one. We want this other tuning fork. We don't want to be tuned in to the vibration of perfectionism. We want to tune in to that spiritual freedom and joy and harmony with all things. Yeah.
But I think sometimes when a traumatic event happens, it lands on that pitch or that chord or that string.
Yeah.
And it activates it.
Yes.
So I spent a huge part of my, well, and then I was a ballet dancer, right? Okay. So there we have more perfectionism. And so I spent a lot of time but learning to understand that energy and pattern in my life.
I think this is the perfect time to hold up your picture.
My painting, I was thinking that too.
No, the poster with the little damage,
the little thing. Okay,
little
so
change,
this is
not damage, but
okay.
change.
So more than art. So here's the thing. This is a poster from a piece I was in, and I got it framed and I put it up, and then something happened and the corner got knocked and it was so tight that it just split right there. And you can see it's kind of like a star and it goes all the way through there. And it curves up through my arm. And I was kind of disappointed and I was like, oh crap, I have to get this reframed. And then I said, let's just look at it a little while like this. What if that perfect frame didn't convey the idea of more than art? What is more than art? Life. What is more than movement? What is more than sound? Just being. And this broken glass is what is being here right now.
I love it. Our greatest faults and weaknesses are our greatest strengths. The trauma is where we find the beauty in life. Hold that up again. It's just incredible. The line going with your arm, that's you.
Mm-hmm.
And that curve is just so beautiful. And then that crack in the middle on this, look, it's right on that stone. It couldn't be more perfect. And creating another line of energy there. It's just beautiful.
And then I can twist it so that my hand touches the light on my my wall.
I can see us in there.
Look, and we're in there, right?
There we are.
So then we're making more art, right? Holding up the thing and reflecting
we're in it. We're in the art, in the flow.
Okay, what about layers of meaning? Right?
Yes, I can see a lot of layers there.
All the layers, right? And so the way it originally was lovely, but it didn't have the same depth.
It's better.
And it didn't have the same energy.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So, and we're better as we get older. And we go through trauma, we go through changes, our body doesn't work, and all of a sudden we can't do what we did. And a lot of us, we stay stuck. Well, this is who I am, that person back in their 20s or 30s, and now they're 60 or 70 or 80. And yeah, this is who I am. No, we're something else now. We're better. And it's just so beautiful. We can move on and just embrace the now with this different body.
Well, and see, and I tell even my young students, every plie, we're going to do 4 plies in a row, and every plie, you're a different person. Mm-hmm. Every plie is a new movement. You're going to bend your knees and you're going to straighten your knees. Yes, that's the same. But you probably had 10,000 cells die between the first one and the fourth one.
Yes.
So you aren't even the same biological being. Forget the fact that you are 16 or 24 or 32 counts into the future from where you were when you did the first plie.
I feel like we could talk for another hour, but we're nearing our end here.
We better get closing, huh?
And I want to make sure people know how to reach you, and we'll put it up on the screen too. But also, before you stop, if you could just give maybe 2 or 3 tips of wisdom that you can share with people who feel blocked or stuck. They've lost their creative flow. They're not in flow and they want to get back in flow. Could you share some tips or techniques that have worked for you really quickly, just in a minute?
I got the short one.
Okay.
So a lot of times what happens when we have a block is we push against it. We want to get through it. We want to get over it. And this is like from my dancing. When you push on the ground, the harder you push on the ground, the higher you jump. But also the reason you jump high is the ground pushes back at you. So when we have a block, if we push on that block, the block pushes back. So what I suggest is that when you feel energy bound, you make a fist. And that's your thing, whatever it is, whatever is blocked. And you do that, and you can hear my voice, right? Because the blocking tension anywhere is tension everywhere. Then you just stop squeezing.
Very good. Yes.
And as soon as you stop squeezing, that's easing. And easiness anywhere is easiness everywhere. And you don't even know how that's going to change. And so when you have the block and you think, I have to, and you say, wait, I'm going to squeeze, I'm going to not squeeze, and what's next? And from that pause, you can move forward. Maybe you wouldn't start writing your novel, but maybe you would write a thank you note to somebody.
Very
and
good.
That is writing, and that is moving the energy. And then you just keep following that flow, that being in the zone. And every time you feel a little stuck, I just tell people, make this fist, because that's it, and stop squeezing. And as soon as you stop squeezing, there you go. You don't want to stretch it, because that's just a stretched out fist. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you so much for that tip. And thank you so much for joining me. And one thing that I want to make clear is some of the people listening might think what you do is dance and teach people dance, but you're much more than that. Could you just in a quick sentence explain what you do now and how people can reach you?
Sure. I help people rediscover the balance in their system. I call it body-brain balance. And it's the balance between thinking and how your body moves in the world.
And you work with people of all ages?
All ages, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I have some people who are 70, over 75, who are practicing being at ease with themselves and their lives, and coming back into balance, because we all get out of balance. You know,
well, this has been so much fun getting to know you. I feel a real connection with you, and it's just a delight hearing your journey, hearing your creative journey. And I think people learned a lot from that. They're inspired hearing what you went through and how you are inspiring so many people to change their life and choose a life of ease. So thank you for being here with me today. And it's fun to have our creative chat.
It was delightful. It was just delightful. I appreciate your time and being able to share so much joy with you, you know, in being present and in creating and remembering how lucky we were to grow up in the families we grew up in.
Yes, it's a lot of fun, and let's keep creating and keep our connection with one another. Thank you. And thank you everybody for joining us. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
See you next time. Bye.